Welcome to Tech Habit Weekly, episode 6. Today's date is July 25th, 2013. We have a pretty jam-packed show for you guys today. We have a bunch of stories ranging from porn, yes, I said that correctly, porn, to people getting hacked and, all the works here. So, of course, with me, as usual, is Dontae Harris. I'm sure you all know and love him by now. And even if you don't, it won't hurt his feelings. We're cool. We're all friends here. And so if you want to, stick around. We have a lot of tech talk for you because we do have a habit of talking tech here, and that's why we're here. So, Dante, go ahead and kick us off with our first story we have today about Apple's developer portal actually getting hacked.
Yes, I don't know if anybody have really heard about this particular article here, but the Apple developers site has been hacked by, I'm not too sure who it was, but uh, mostly the information that was on their site were the developers' account informations and email addresses, and some of them are their home addresses. Now, they're not sure how much information have actually been breached through the website, but to ensure that things didn't go too crazy, they went ahead and shut the site down. Well, right now the developers are working right now to revamp their software. They're redoing their whole database. So they have a message that they put out basically apologizing for the problem here, and they're trying to rebuild their site. Now, I have a statement here that says last Thursday, an intruder attempted to secure personal information of our registered developers from our developer website. Sensitive and personal material was encrypted and cannot be accessed. However, has not been able to rule out the possibility that some developers' names, mailing addresses, and email addresses may have been accessed. In the spirit of transparency, we from Apple want to inform you of this issue, and that we took the site down immediately on Thursday and have been working around the clock since then. In order to prevent security threats like this from happening again, we're completely overhauling our developer systems, updating our server software, and rebuilding our entire database. We apologize for the significant inconvenience that our downtime has caused you, and that we expect to have the developer website up soon. Now, to me, that's kind of scary, especially with new software that's getting ready to come out. Apple's getting ready to unveil a lot of new things right now. Now, this can critically hurt a company if your products and your information leak before you're ready to. Now, honestly, most hackers, they want information to exploit. So I don't think they really care about any of the developers' mailing addresses and emails and things like that. They just want information. They
Exactly.
want to be the first guys to leak, information about Mavericks and, maybe the new iPhone, and things like that we already know that's up and coming. Maybe, you never know. There might have been price points to the Mac Pro, things like that. But it seems like more of a software issue. Now, we know that Apple in the past have always basically boasted their product by the reliability of not being able to be hacked or have viruses per se. But viruses are man-made, and so are Apple computers. So there's always going to be a breach. There's always going to be an exploit, and that's why security is always getting tighter and tighter. I don't know if you guys are really aware of it, but most of the time when you update something, almost every time they're going to say security and various bug fixes, meaning there was exploits, things that got through, things, because
Yep.
like I said, everything's man-made, and there's going to be exploits, i.e., jailbreaking, things like that. There has to be an exploit to be able to put and inject the jailbreak to be able to modify your system software. Now, to me personally, this is a huge issue, and hopefully Apple is, going to be right on the ball and on the money with taking care of this situation. And luckily, they caught it when they caught it, because this could critically been a very bad situation. Luckily, nothing has really surfaced about it, at least that what I've heard in the different articles that I've read. So hopefully, we'll see what happens. But I don't know, Bob, what's your take on this particular issue?
I mean, I'm glad they were transparent about it. I'm glad they like just hid the fact that they were hacked and just had other people saying that they were, and they actually themselves never came out to say that they were hacked. So, like they said, in the spirit of transparency, like they want their customers to know that this actually did happen. And it's good that it says here that they're trying to like redo their entire system. They're going to try to redo everything from the ground up. And like you say, I mean, it's man-made. There's going to be some backdoors. There's going to be some things that there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. If it's on a hard drive on a working computer that's connected to the internet, there is a way that you can connect to it. It's just a matter of hiding it. And this isn't the first time that, a big website has had their personal information leaked. I mean, you hear about it all the time. It's
Right.
not just Apple. I mean, there's every website, even Roche Technology or One Place for Tech, One Place for Apple. They all have stuff stored on them. And if you can somehow find the username and password, you can get in if you're connected to the internet. And that's just the world we live in now. Everything is connected and there's always a way. And I mean, it's like you said, that's actually what I was going to ask you, what you thought of, people having, addresses and names. That's not really important to a lot of people. I mean, granted, you don't want people to have that. I mean, you don't want people like sending you stuff in your mail because, there has been stuff sent through the mail previous years. There was like this whole, I remember a long time ago, maybe like a decade or so ago now, with like all the anthrax and the envelope stuff. I mean, if someone wanted to do that, they could if they have your address. And that's scary to think about. But that's not personally the kind of information that I think a lot of people are going to want to get from Apple. It's just like the username or like the address or whatever of a couple Apple developers. So, I mean, it's good that, like you said, there's not like some secret product information that was leaked or anything, but I mean, I wouldn't want some random dude out there to have my address either. So, I mean, say for example, I mean, I don't think you're a registered Apple developer, but if you were and your information was leaked, how do you think you'd react to that?
I mean, honestly, I kind of fear for my safety a little bit because just the fact that since you have pretty much top secret level, security and protocol to things that normal people don't know about, but everyone wants to have. I'd fear for, people coming up to me and maybe offering you things like, hey, buddy, I'll give you $1,000 if you just let me, see something and you probably looked at the person like, well, who are you and who are you from, and they're like, well, I got your address from, a source of mine and things like that. That would be the biggest problem. It'd be hard to dodge the media because, different people, they'll sell these things to media outlets and, get the buzz raging that Apple's products has been leaked. Remember what happened with the iPhone 4? It was left in a bar, the prototype, and that caused a big, huge fiasco. We all saw it before it came out, and guess what? It looked exactly how the prototype switchers were. So, like I said, that could critically hurt a company, and it's not just Apple. Like you said, it's a lot of different companies. Things have leaked in the past, and I think that luckily they were able to kind of stop it when it happened and was able to revamp and hold their ground and say, hey, this did happen. We're not a super company where nothing ever happens. And that's why, like you said, I do like the transparency of Apple's company because of that as well, because it helps us know that, these are human beings, they're not a top secret society, sitting behind, closed aluminum doors, and it's good. It shows that, something did happen. They let it out there for the public to know and let you know that they're working on it. Now, also, I had a source tell me that also, if you had a developer account that was getting ready to expire, I heard they were going to kind of extend that in between this period where you weren't able to get on their site. And I think that's good for the developers and good for future developers to know that, hey, Apple's got our back on this. It's not like, hey, your information was taken and whatnot. Well, that's your fault for giving it to us. You know what I mean? So at least they're taking responsibility and like you said, being transparent about the issue. And hopefully they get everything good and up and running again to continue development and keep going with the things that they already have coming with the different products that are coming down this fall.
Yeah, and like transparency is definitely key. I mean, whether it's Netflix or a website, there's always a backdoor. And even I think maybe there was a story maybe a while ago. I'm not sure if it was Netflix or not, but a very similar thing happened where people got their email addresses and things. And, the company sends out this massive email to everybody that has signed up for the service. And that's good that companies do that because they want to let people know before the press lets them know. And then it makes the company look bad that, maybe they were trying to hide something. So that's always, good that they just get it out there in the open before the public just eats them alive about it. So just moving on. This is also sort of related to the Apple developer community. Apple has released the Mavericks developer preview 4 for of course real Macs. If you're running a developer preview 2 or 3 or even 1, go ahead and go to the Mac App Store and get your update on. And it's interesting that they released this even with the Developer Center being down. And typically, Apple releases, or at least in the past couple of weeks here, since iOS 7 and Mavericks came out, they've been releasing iOS 7 and Mavericks like pretty much on the same day. And we've seen now this Developer Preview 4 of Mavericks, but we didn't see an update to iOS. So do you think there's a reason for that? Maybe it has something to do with this hack?
Oh, definitely. I can definitely see it having something to do with this hack, only because of the developing of iOS and, like you said, of Mavericks. Maybe they were just a little further along with Mavericks and they were able to pump this one out. Maybe they already had that finished and it really wasn't a part of the exploit of the hack. And definitely I could see, since iOS 7 is due to launch this fall and things like to a lot of devices, I think they were pretty confident on what area was breached and what wasn't. And I think it may have been just more of users' information, because a lot of our information that we have from these different these sites and different developers are just their information of the particular developers that were on there. That's the only thing I'm hearing right this second. And Apple didn't even, they really didn't have to tell us that, if you think about it. So yes, I definitely see that. And believe me, I knew that about Mavericks when they released a update. So the first thing I did was try to software update on my iPhone 5 with that is currently running iOS 7. I was a little disappointed that I didn't get a software update to a new beta, but with in light of the situation that just happened, I could definitely see that they're being a little more cautious and just pump the brakes a little bit and say, hold on, we need to wait and until we get things figured out and finalized and see what actually was breached and what happened, and then they'll come out with their updates just as well as they've been doing before.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect them. I mean, if they have to push back a beta a week or so, then they're going to do that to make sure that their developer center is nice and secure. It's not like it's going to delay iOS 7 when it comes out in the fall. It's not going to, it's going to be, like I said, maybe a week or so delayed. It's not a big deal, and it's definitely worth doing. Changing gears here, now we're going to talk about the deal of the week that we have for you guys, and that is the Mac Media Bundle. So in this bundle, this isn't going to be a bundle that's for everybody. But a lot of people, and this is going to be kind of tied into YouTube and stuff like that. A lot of people, myself included, use YouTube for music a lot of times. If I hear a new song, I'm like, oh, what is that? I can go on YouTube, type a few letters, it knows it, and then I just go, I can listen to it. And that's basically kind of what the type of person, I guess, that this bundle is based around. So here we have an application called MusicTube. That's a YouTube music player. So it kind of organizes, YouTube stuff like music videos or anything like that into one application that lets you, see the album art and create playlists and stuff. So it's a pretty neat application for things like that. They have MiniTube, which basically turns your YouTube search into a TV channel. Dontae, do you see yourself using any apps like this?
Oh, definitely. I mean, just a person like myself, I'm a very visual person. So when I'm able to see things, I can click on pretty quickly, just by sight, and really don't have to read too much, then that helps me out, especially when I'm skimming through multiple windows, because I have dual displays. So a lot of times I move through my windows pretty quickly. So instead of reading things, I associate things with just, maybe different boxes and whatnot. I know what my messages box looks like, my OS4 or Twitter client and things like that. So I know to quickly switch in between those two. But with this particular application, I can see myself actually using this, because just the fact that it gives you a vision of different like lifestyle, home education, people, blogs, things like that, pets and animals and things like that, and it gives you a square with a picture on it, and that way you can just skim over it and click it. Like if you see a nice landscape or something like that, you can click on that way, and I think it's pretty nice. I mean, it plays full HD videos up to 1080p, and you can go full screen and watch those things, and just type in different keywords and see what comes up, and it'll all display on your screen through MiniTube. I think it's a pretty lightweight application. It's not very big, and I think it's good to, like, say if you like different sports clips and things like that, you can just type in your keywords and have a different box for that, and just go right to it and click and just go from there. So you can search just as you normally would, and just the different categories will come up, and I think that just looks nice to me.
Yeah, I can see myself using these applications. I don't personally have them, but I mean, and that's one thing about this. It's $15 for all three of these apps, and so even if you don't like it, you're not out $100.
Right.
And there's three separate apps here for $15. That's an average of $5 a pop for a decent, good-looking Mac app. That's nothing. I mean,
Right.
you really don't have much to lose here. And there's even a lot of people that complain about iTunes a lot. There's an application in this bundle for you. I don't know if it's called Musique or it's just music, spelled out all funky and fancy. But it's kind of like meant to be an iTunes replacement. So, and you can even try it. There's like little demos here. So definitely give them at least a try. You have nothing to lose if you go out and give them a try. And if you decide you want to buy it, here's a deal for you. $15 helps us out, helps you guys out. Get some nice Mac apps on. So moving on to our next story, we're going to switch gears here. We're going to go from second to third, or third to fourth, or whatever gear you like. This is now, if you look back on, our last show, or even maybe even the show before that, we talked about these new early upgrade plans from these different carriers, such as, T-Mobile and AT&T with their Jump and Edge. Now Verizon is out here, and now they have their own version of this. So Dontae, give us a quick recap. Do you think that, we've talked about this in a previous episode, but do you think that you would be interested in an early upgrade plan?
Well, I honestly think I would be interested in an early upgrade plan because of the person like myself. I have to have the new iOS device pretty much when it comes out. That's just my preference. And other people, you might be tied by different, financial things, or maybe you just a little skeptical. Maybe you have to wait a little bit when it comes out, or some people just like to stay right with their upgrades, and just get them at a discounted price. Definitely take advantage of this, but here's some variables and some different price tags that go along with that. Now, myself, I have AT&T service. That's who I subscribe to as far as my cell phone carrier, and their program personally, I don't really like their program too much. I probably would still adapt that program only because I can still upgrade early. It's going to cost me a little more, per month and things like that, but that's a preference for myself. If I don't want to do it, I mean, you definitely don't have to. But T-Mobile, as of right now, I believe has the best plan out of the three, and that's only because of the news that I have from Verizon service. And Verizon, what they're doing is, if you want to put them in brackets as far as first, second, and third, you almost want to go with T-Mobile first and Verizon second and AT&T third because of the cost. They're almost like right in between, and I think that's a good strategy by Verizon to be competitive with the other two. That way, you're more likely they're going to be in the 1 and 2 category instead of the third category. Because I don't think they can compete with T-Mobile as far as the price drop, so they wanted to hit them a little bit, closer to home. So it's definitely going to be competitive because, you may even have people that may even switch carriers because of this particular deal. They might say, well, hey, I have my 2-year contract's up, but I do like to get my phones as soon as they come out. Well, I'm going to jump to T-Mobile, and start a no contract with them and still be able to upgrade by jumping on their jump service. And then you have AT&T with Next and Verizon with Edge and things like that. So it just depends on the type of user you are and what you want to do. But honestly, I mean, who likes to pay more a month for anything? No one. But when it comes to these smartphones and devices and tablets and things like that, you got to realize a lot of these devices are well over $600. Most smartphones are about $650 a pop, so $649.99. That's a lot of money to come up with. Now, AT&T service, it just seems like you're almost paying off the entire phone before you get it, which I could probably wait for my upgrade for that. But depending on how antsy you are and things like that, and plus you got to realize most people, they don't keep 5, 6, smartphones. They'll probably sell the last one since they're not tied to it anymore, and that will help with the cost of the new one. Or maybe, if you have another phone you may be able to use, you can sell it first and then start paying a monthly balance and just space it out. So I think it's good because you're not putting all the money down collectively right now, and it would help. But to me, it just depends on the type of person you are and what you want to do and what program works for you as far as what carrier you're on. So I don't know what your opinions are.
Yeah, it really depends where you live. I mean, some people could look at T-Mobile's jump and say, yeah, I want to pay less, I want to have that phone early, but the T-Mobile coverage is horrible in my area. And so is it really worth it, that's not going to work for a lot of people. And another good point is that, a lot of people, like you said, they don't like to keep their old phone around. They want to sell it. They want to use that to, get money for the next phone. And so there's online services like that. But with all of these, I'm looking at a little graph here. There's T-Mobile Jump, AT&T Next, and Verizon Edge, and you kind of it's like a comparison table. And for each one of these, the new phone, you have to trade in the old one. And so it makes you wonder, how much they're going to give you for that, or, if it's even worth it, in addition to already paying more per month to be able to upgrade early. So it seems that none of these plans are really going to be like absolutely beneficial because you do have to pay more money. But, the companies get more money in their pocket. You get to upgrade your phone earlier. So this could work for some people that don't mind paying a little bit more. Maybe they don't really care about selling their phone on eBay, trying to get the maximum dollar for it back. But me personally, I would definitely have to, see. I'd probably have to put it through a test run first. I'd have to see some people online as the guinea pigs, I guess, and see if they really like it. This isn't something that I'd want to just jump into head first, and just experiment to see if I save money. And then if not, oh well. And so, I mean, do you think you would do this without, having seen the results of it first from someone else?
Honestly, no. Only because right now, where I am with my particular upgrade, I'm very close to my upgrade, and the new Apple products haven't been officially released yet. So I'm in a good spot to wait. And honestly, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of waiting on the quote unquote guinea pig because the service is so new. I mean, when something's so new, you kind of want to work out the kinks and see what's really on the fine line, and in print, and how much are you going to actually pay. I mean, they can tell you $15, $25, $35, but is that really what's going on? Or is there a limit? I mean, if I pay $35 a month for 2 months, am I able to upgrade when it comes out? Or they're saying, well, you haven't paid enough in to do that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure yet. So there's a lot of kinks that need to be worked out, a lot of things that I've just haven't, I guess, dug too deep, into it to figure it out. But in the coming weeks and the coming of the services, we will definitely see some people adopt those programs, and maybe we'll hear some feedback, maybe on the chat or right here on YouTube, and figure out, if someone has adopted that program, and tell us how it is. And if you guys leave us a comment, we can definitely get some feedback, maybe on the next show, and we can kind of adopt that as it goes.
Now, I'm going to play the part here of a maraca, and I'm going to shake things up. Porn. If I couldn't make that any more awkward for you, it's not really that awkward of a story, but I just wanted to make people feel slightly uncomfortable. Our next story here is the UK is to block all online porn by later this year. Dontae, why do you think they would do this?
Honestly, the only thing I can really think of is there is a huge string of child pornography, and we all know that child pornography is a felony charge. And I don't know what the rules are over in the UK, but I'm sure, sorry, excuse me, that it's a felony charge, or maybe even worse, because it's to the point where the United Kingdom, they're going to ban porn specifically. Now, that's not to say that porn is inaccessible. They're saying that if you want that, you have to specifically call your ISP and request that they enable it. Now,
Awkward.
I don't know about you. Yeah, I think that's going to make some weird customer service phone calls, of some guy trying to re-enable his pornography to be accessed on his computer now, or his phone, or through his network, however way he gets internet to a device, a tablet, whatever. And to me, I think it's just going to be really weird. And you know what? It may work just because of the fact that it's going to be that awkward that people just shy away from it. I mean, I don't know. What if, there's something going on in the UK where, there's a string of DVD sales or something that's down, and they're like, you know what? I got a way to boost these sales, And you always got to look at the underlying thing, because believe me, at first on the surface, I want to believe that this is a very good thing that they're trying to do and implement. Maybe there's a lot of things that kids can get access to and things like that, poor security, things like that. That's what I want to believe. But I also believe that we're in a society of making money. So I think that, there's going to be some things, there's, people can more likely look at pornography on their computers for free. But now if they lock up their ISP and say you have a wife and 2 kids or something, well, you're not going to call the ISP and say, hey, go ahead and unblock this thing, and you're going to probably find other avenues for it, and that just depends on who you are. Some people think it's completely disgusting. Some people, don't care about it, or say, oh man, that was back when I was in high school or something. But, there's a lot of guys out there probably relying on pornography. So if this thing would hit America, there would be riots and fires and things like that to go on. I don't know what your take is on it, but I mean, I can't say it's a good thing. I can't say it's a bad thing. I'm kind of neutral on this particular situation, because heck, that's in the UK, not over here in America. No offense.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not.
All my UK
I'm not like
people, I
a.
love you, but
We love you here, UK. Don't
yeah,
don't
we love
run.
you.
Come back. We're friends. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a porn viewer online or anything, so honestly, it doesn't really affect me. But it just makes you kind of wonder, what's going to be the next step? What are they going to block next? Because they don't want, kids seeing it, or it's just too much. And because, like you say, I mean, we're in a society of making money, and as offensive as a lot of people think porn is, it makes a lot of money. It puts the
Exactly.
food on the tables of many people, and I mean. Do you think this is a bad thing? I mean, do you think that give it maybe a year or two that they could reverse this? I mean,
Well, this could actually turn into a bad thing, because you got to realize, if it's almost like prohibition. I mean, I know that was years and years ago. They wanted to outlaw alcohol and beer and things like that. And what happened? Well, people started doing it underground and selling it and
yeah,
still making money. So guess
yeah.
what's going to happen to some of these places? There might be a place you can go down the street, just around the corner from the pub, and and say, hey, I'm gonna get that porn subscription. How much you got? And I think it would have a point to almost conduct illegal activity, because that's what happens when you tell people you can't have something.
Yeah.
They will find ways to get it, and hopefully that doesn't happen, with with this entire thing. And I don't know, maybe people they're more secure with themselves and they say, hey, whatever, they can take it away because I'm a grown man and I'm going to order this porn in a second and get it turned back on. That might be a problem for you guys, but not for me. But like you said, it's not a problem for you. It's not a problem for me. But there's some people that really like it. And then, like you said, it's a huge industry. It makes a lot of money. It's a billion-dollar industry. So you have to think about actors and actresses that may have I don't know, like a webcam feed or something like that, where their audience is over the internet. Well, they're going to see a dramatic drop in subscribers and things like that because there's no access. And the little access that they're going to get, what if they lost a crowd that normally would view them, things like that. So, you have to, really take everything with a grain of salt and try to figure out what's exactly going to happen with that. But hopefully it turns out to be a good thing, but I don't know. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think America would, conduct something like that or try to inherit something after maybe a few years or a year or so to see how it happens and how it work over in the UK?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like you said. I mean, they kind of did this with like the whole alcohol thing back in the 20s, 1920s, and people there where there's a will there's a way, and whether
Right.
it's a good way or a bad way, they're going to find a way to get what they want. And honestly, it's just human nature that some people, they just want to do it because it's illegal. I mean, they don't even
Right.
have that much interest in it. They just like the fact that they're going behind the law, and that could be dangerous. That could lead into bigger crimes being committed. And with a lot of people are also going to argue like freedom of speech. It's the internet. I should be able to browse where I want to browse and do what I want to do. And of course, where is that line? But to do this in America, I feel like it's kind of like you said. I think America has kind of learned their lesson by just straight up telling people that even though you should be able to access this, you can't just because we said so. People aren't going to like that. And I think that would just turn into something a lot worse.
Okay, just a second here. I see on our chat that Luke Spray is here. He put on here that he lives in the UK and says it's just a setting that's in the ISP website that you have to enable. Now, that's new information to me. And as far as right before this podcast came about, so now that kind of made me switch gears. And thanks, Luke, for that information
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
That now, if it's something like that, I think that can go. It may not slow anything down. I mean, who's to say you can't be on the internet for 15 seconds and enable it, and then who knows if it was ever enabled or disabled, So that does change gears a little bit. But what
Yeah.
if a person's not very tech savvy? What if it's an old guy? He's like, I want to figure out exactly how I can get my pornography back onto my computer. I like to see my big butts and everything like that. You never know, So that may make it harder. Some people may not know, what if someone, I'm sure it's a pretty big deal over in the UK, but, just say you just didn't know, you were just out of the loop or whatever, and you try to go on your site or something and it's down. Well, the first thing you're going to start doing is asking questions and whatnot. So they may, expose it because, it is embarrassing, if people just know, oh yeah, there's that porn guy down the road. Hey, how you doing, Bill? That type of thing. So it's a little different. So, but with that information, I mean, it may be easier to enable this if you want it, but I think it'll be harder for families if say your wife and of course the husband does know about it or something, and the wife's like, well, I just checked on the website here on the homepage, guess what was enabled in bold red letters. So it's things like that. So
You
it's
have some
really the knowledge
explaining
of the
to
people.
do.
Exactly. He's like, no, mom, I did not do it. And so we'll see what happens. But like I said, I mean, this is a huge industry. There's a lot of money going to be lost either way. I don't care. It just the fact that they're implementing this, someone's losing money and someone's going to be upset. So you have to look at backlash and different things. There may be even some civil suits or something like that in the works to say, hey, this is, like you said, with the freedom of speech and things like that. And like, hey, this industry has been around for a long time and now you're going to pull that away from us. I'm pretty sure some people are going to have some things to say about that. But we'll just have to see as this, goes about, and we'll stay upon it. Maybe I can't because my ISP won't provide me, but but we'll see. We'll be able to see if we can get some access to it and see what else goes on here in the future weeks of this of Tech Habit Weekly, and we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below wherever you're watching this video. I mean, do you think this kind of infringes on the whole freedom of rights, or freedom of speech, everyone's rights on the internet, things like that? Be sure to let us know down below in the comments on what you think about that, and if you think something like this could possibly make its way to the UK. From what Luke Spray said in the comments there, it almost kind of seems like it's going to be on the level of trying to like opening up ports on a router, for example. You have to know how to get in your router and then, type in something or enable this port or something like that and just click apply. If it's that easy, it's going to be a lot, smoother going than if they just straight up deny you access.
Right. And
So, I
thanks
mean,
again for that information too.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
was kind of last minute, and I just happened to glance over and see that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot for that, Luke. But so switching gears here, pouring off. Motorola sends invites to its August 1st Motorola X phone event. Now, we talked about this phone in the past. This is the one that, they're really kind of pumping it up as, or at least the leaks pumped it up as, a phone that you could sit here and just talk to and it'll do everything you want. Dante, do you think you would see yourself wanting a phone like this?
Probably not, only because right now, as the specs of the phone and things like that have come about, to me, right now, just selling me on a voice dictation service that's something similar to Siri, but it's supposed to be a lot more integrated and things like that, that's not enough to sell me. That's just how I am. I mean, it has to be some drastic features and drastic things, because you got to realize we're in a society of one-upmanship. You have to be better than the last guy, and that's just the name of the game. Motorola sent out invites for the August 1st press event that's going to be in New York, and it's through the Business Insider is how they sent their invite, and it simply reads Moto X. That's all it says, and the phone is not exactly. It hasn't been a secret through Motorola or anything like that. There's been leaked images and specs for it. And Google's chairman Eric Schmidt even I guess was caught using that device in public. And things like that. So there's not too much anticipation for that particular phone, and it's just in my personal opinion, because if someone, say if Apple maybe not Apple, let's say Android or say Samsung, for instance, said, Galaxy S5, and they just put it up there, but it's coming out in a year, but you've already got the pictures of it. You've already seen mock-up or, simulation videos and things like that, and you can just YouTube it. The anticipation is not going to be very much. I can see what it looks like, and I've got a year to wait, and there's other devices coming out. Well, I think that's what kind of happened with this. I think they kind of lost their steam by having all these photos and press and stuff about it.
Yeah,
And
leaks. Yeah.
right, there were leaks, but then also, it seems like they at a particular point were kind of hyping it up too, because the video that came out and everything, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool because it's closer to the date. I understand that, but to me it's just not enough to get people to switch over to it. And I'm sure people are going to try it, because a lot of things actually do sell out of curiosity, and I think this is going to be one of those products that do. I don't think this is going to be a dark horse or anything that major carriers need to watch out for, and manufacturers need to watch out for. It's definitely going to be something different, but we'll just have to see how well that works with the dictation, as I said before. And I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, with the event and what some of the Google developers and things have been saying about this particular phone, because as I'm seeing it, I mean, to me, they say it's highly customizable and affordable, and I don't know. I'm just trying to get your opinion to figure out, like, how do you think that stacks up with the other smartphones on the market right now?
I don't know. I mean, any phone that really, I guess, prides itself on a lot of like basically being based around voice stuff, it seems like there's a lot of gimmicks to be found there, and that's kind of like the new word now with like smartphones, even like with a lot of the Android phones. Like personally, I think all the Galaxy S4 stuff with your eyes and stuff. I mean, it's something cool to show your friends, but it's nothing that you're going to use on a daily basis. And I think that this phone is going to be kind of the same way. Like I could tell my phone to do this, but in reality, it's probably going to be faster and more reliable if you just do it yourself. I mean,
Right.
it's nothing that's going to be that big of a deal. And one thing that really and Apple is affected with this big time. One thing that really kills a company's upcoming announcement is hype. I mean, like we mentioned earlier with the iPhone 4 launch. I mean, once everyone saw it, the internet was crazy for a couple days, and then it came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, it could have been better."
Right.
And they're just kind of bored sitting there looking
Because
at the
it
monitor
killed the
like this.
anticipation. Yeah.
Exactly. And
You
even
know.
now, Apple to this day, when the iPhone 5 was coming out, I mean, people were like hyping up the keynote. Maybe we'll have one last thing. Maybe it'll be like this, or maybe the phone is going to have this, this, and this. And it's kind of unfair and unreasonable to live up to all this stuff. And
Right.
that's what in my opinion, caused people to want to go towards Android because Apple wasn't innovating enough. And so hype is really dangerous when it comes to, tech companies and their next upcoming products because now with the internet, information and thoughts travel so much faster than they used to, and all it takes is
Exactly.
one idea to get people thinking and therefore expecting the world. And then when something comes out, it's not as good as you thought. And so I feel that that's going to be a big thing with this particular phone. I mean, we've seen a lot of leaks about it, lots of stuff from the press, and it's going to be hard. Do you think it'll live up to the expectations that we've seen?
Honestly, no. And this is just a personal opinion, and it's only because think of the last greatest Motorola product. Name it right now. Time's up. That's it. That's
Cricket.
the problem. And and that's the problem. I mean, if you can say things like different powerhouses like Samsung, you can give 3 or 4 different lines, S3, S2, the Galaxy S series in general. Before then, I'm not sure. Maybe the Bold, Behold, things like that, but if you can't stack up with, different models and things like that, to me, there's not that great of a following for that. And a lot of times, the company, they'll release a smartphone or something that's really a budget phone, almost like, the carrier will give it to you for free just for starting up service with that particular carrier. So a lot of those things get swept under the rug. So now they're trying to come out and say, look, we have a flagship phone now. You've got a lot to prove in this market right now. You got to realize you can't just slide in here and just take over the industry because people are going to be skeptical. And like I said, they will sell for curiosity. They will sell, but you have to realize how happy are consumers going to be right after they make that purchase and realize they're
Yeah.
not really using that voice dictation. And like you said, with the gimmicks that are out now, and that's kind of, I guess, a term I got famous on here for saying, but to me, that's just another gimmick. It's like you can't use one feature to sell an entire product. It literally has to be the feature of all features, like, hello, I'm on my phone. Where? Right now. Look, no hands, and it's, where's your phone? Well, it's a chip implanted in the back of my ear. That's
Yeah.
something that, you'd have to come out with to be able to stack up with all these different powerhouses that are out there with the manufacturers and carriers and whatnot. But like I said, curiosity sales, gimmick sales at first. And yes, they only need that sale one time. They don't care if you bought it the first time and hated the phone. They made that sale off of that product, and that's what's going to get them. And I think that's kind of cheesy because that's what I think a lot of these companies are doing now. They're selling gimmicks instead of selling products. It's almost
Exactly.
like selling the sizzle on the steak, but not the steak. That type of thing. That steak was terrible, but it looked great on that grill. That type of thing. So we'll have to see what happens, at this press conference. Of course, it's not happening until August the 1st, and I'm going to definitely tune in to see what's going on and see what the buzz is around it. But as of right now, I don't see too much about it besides the same videos that everyone's been seeing in the leaked photos. So we'll just have to see in the upcoming weeks. Actually less than that. In just a few days,
Days.
about a week, and see what happens with that.
Yeah, this whole thing reminds me of kind of like that Facebook phone, the first, and everyone
Oh,
thought it was going to have like this huge Facebook interface. And as it turns out, you can get that on any Android phone. It's just like a launcher. And so once that happened, within like a week, that phone went from $99 on contract to 99 cents. I mean, it's
exactly.
like the same thing. Behind that one feature that they really hype, you have a phone that's kind of underpowered, not so great anymore. And
But it
so then you're
sounded
stuck with
great.
it.
It sounded great at the
Exactly.
time. People, I
But you
actually
signed a
heard people talking
contract.
about that one too. They're like, "Oh man, that Facebook phone's gonna be awesome. I'm always on Facebook. I'm always LOL and BRB and TTYL and all that stuff." And then I'm like, "Hey, what about that phone? Yeah, I'm trading this for something. It's just a
I'm
phone,
out a
pretty
couple
much." I'm like,
bucks.
"Yep." So yeah, that was a good example though. Very good
Yeah, I
example.
mean that's why I think that Apple still has it. I mean, they're not going to release a phone with those gimmicky. They're going to release what they know is rock solid. And
Right.
this isn't a phone debate or anything, but that's just how apparently both of us feel about these kinds of phones that really hype up that one feature, and then a couple months in, you don't use it, and next thing you know, you have another piece of plastic in your hands. But
Right.
changing gears, now we're going to talk about something that probably is going to interest a lot of people if they could ever afford it, myself included. I'm sure everyone on this podcast, Terrell, our producer included. Now, Verizon now has a new FiOS plan that's 500 megabits down, 100 megabits up. Dante, I mean, you're not in the UK, so your porn isn't blocked or anything, but so assuming you can have as much of that as you want, what else do you think you can even use this speed for?
Oh man, I mean, you have to think about, let's just say podcasts like us. I mean, people want the up speed as well as download speed. You know, everyone wants download speed so you don't have to buffer for, say, Netflix or different, you know, streaming services and things like that. But then you think about people like us and different companies who like host podcasts and things like that. You need the up speed as well to be able to host these things. And that's very critical. And that's where people are, you know, who didn't care about upload, you know, they're like, whatever, I don't care about an upload speed, you know, they want down speed. Well, now with this particular program, this thing, it's super fast, believe me, but the price point is killing me right now. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and they have Google Fiber in Kansas City, Kansas, and coming to North Kansas City, and the price is nowhere near this. It's literally a third, or almost, let's see, it's almost less than half of this here. You know, they say they have a package that starts off at $309 a month, and for what's called a triple play bundle, which includes phone service, the price jumps from $309 to $329 a month, and it also requires a 2-year contract. But Google Fiber, on the other hand, is only $70 a month for just the internet, and it's this service is not as fast as Google Fiber, and it's $120. For the internet and television. I'd pay for the internet and television because it's almost what I'm paying right now on my service. And, you know, and I mean, the 500 megabits by 100 megabits, I mean, it's nice. It's nice. It's very nice, but it's not Google Fiber. And
exactly. Fiber has twice the down and 10 times the up for a quarter of the price.
Right. You know, and I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, I think it's nice because, you know what, somebody will subscribe to that because there's going to be that guy out there stuck in a funny spot and he needs to have that up speed, and he's going to just bang his head against the wall and say, you know what, I'm going to do this because fiber's not available in my particular area. Will it catch on mainstream? No, because that's ridiculous. You got to realize, you know, people love download speed. Like I said, someone can have 18 megabits down and be just fine. No buffering, things work just fine. Who knows? They might be on the wire, which I mean Ethernet, you know, running a full gigabit Ethernet port out of their Macs or something like that, and be just fine. You know, because you got to realize these are for hardcore service providers and users, and there's just not enough of that. I mean, I don't care if it literally was a third of the United States or the world even. That's not enough to fund something like this. I mean, number one, the price to set this up and, you know, for Verizon to get all this implemented, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, there's business lines that are whopping fast and that are cheaper than this. And it just doesn't make sense. I mean, they need to really do something about that price point. But honestly, can they? I mean, I know it takes money to make money. So when you have to realize with the hardware and different things they have to put inside your house and things like that, you know, that's crazy. I mean, and then with there being a $20 difference in between just the internet, the double play package, and the triple play, which is the phone service and internet and whatnot, you know, to me, I'm like, that's not that big of a margin to, you know, differentiate with. You're still paying $329 a month. That's a car payment. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And, you know, just to sit there and say you're in the UK and can't get porn. but you know, to me, price too hefty. I don't see that staying around for very long unless they do a dramatic price change. What are your thoughts?
I find it interesting. Probably the most interesting thing is that you can add the TV and the phone for only like $20 more a month. And I think they're finally starting to realize that, you know, you don't, like me, even me personally, I don't have cable. I mean, the only phone I have is a cell phone. So I can do all this stuff. I'm communicating with you right now via the internet. You know, the internet does both of those things between Netflix or Skype to communicate. So, I mean, they're kind of just like at that point begging you, just buy it. Just please have our service. You know, so they're realizing that the internet is becoming the most important of the three. And so, but like you said, that price is just killing me. I mean, I know fiber is not widely available yet at all. It's only in like a few select cities in one state. But, you know, give it 5 years. And say, for example, hopefully it does. Fiber makes it to a lot more states by then. Do you think something like this will still be around? And if it is, do you think this price will stay?
If it's going to be around, the price will drop dramatically because honestly, they can't compete. I mean, number one, I could see if Google Fiber was $299 a month and theirs was 309 or something around there where it's comparable, and and you can say, well, I can't get Google Fiber where I am, so I'm going to go ahead and get Verizon service. But it's literally night and day. $70 a month for Google Fiber. I mean, I'd run over
can't
my mother
beat
with a
that.
bus to get to that. And and even with the internet and TV package, that's $120 a month for that speed. I will make that happen. But to shell out $300+ a month is ridiculous. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
that is
think
absolutely
about it. I mean,
ridiculous.
$300 a month for a year, and let alone a 2-year contract, that's like $3,600 a year. For a 2-year contract,
Exactly.
you're talking seven, almost 8 grand, depending on what package you get. It's a lot of money.
That is. So
Yeah, I mean, it's to the point now. I'll buy my Hyperloop ticket and go to Kansas and get fiber.
there you go. And I'll just, we'll just do our show from here. And hey, I'll see you next time, Bob. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's too ridiculous. I mean, you got to realize, besides people buying a computer and different maintenance and different things that they have to have that's tech related, televisions, electric bills, cell phone bill, and things like that. If your internet speed, or I'm sorry, not speed, internet cost more than three, four, or five of your bills, that's a problem,
Yeah.
and I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's
at that
cool. I
price.
mean, yeah,
Very cool.
it'd be awesome to say like, yeah, man, I got that 500 down plan. Have people just drool when you tell them that, but it's not worth that per month.
What you do is, if there's some sort of promotional period where they say, look, you got 15 days to sign up, you sign up for it, go to speedtest.net, screen cap it, cancel the
Screenshot
service,
it.
right? Put it on Facebook. That's my profile picture. Yep, I get that speed all day, guys. But other than that, other than bragging rights and for what that is and what Google Fiber can do as far as speed and price, there's no way I'm going to adopt that. And hopefully, other people will shy away from that too, but that's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought satellite service internet was ridiculous in price. I mean, that's, twice, almost three times as much as that is. And I'm like, wow. So,
Yeah.
hopefully something will happen. Maybe Verizon will get some better coverage or something, better speed or something, be able to drop that. But if the fastest thing out is way cheaper than you're doing the wrong thing. That's just my personal
Absolutely.
opinion from a business aspect.
Yeah, man, these companies, these ISPs just definitely have their hands in your pockets. But now, changing to fifth gear, a company that really doesn't have their hands in your pockets, at least in terms of this, is Google with their Chromecast for $35. Dante, what's a Chromecast?
Chromecast pretty much, it's almost like, I want to say almost like Apple TV. That's probably the closest thing I can really relate it to. But the difference is the different subscriptions that you can have. Basically, you can link up your Chromebook, if anyone has one, Chromebook to your television, your tablet, and say your like Samsung phone. Anything that's basically running a Google operating system. And the cost is pretty cheap. I mean, $35, for the dongle. I mean, here's a statement here that says Google combined Chrome and Android event yesterday, and that should have had a relatively small impact. The Nexus 7 was already widely leaked, and Android 4.3 was very minor update for this particular device. Now, what that is doing is basically in products that come from San Francisco were the latest to see already on the brand new Nexus 7 and whatnot. That Chromecast can stay tuned and stream different, broadcasts and different events and things like that, almost like the Apple TV. But I'm hearing that there's going to be subscriptions through like Comcast and things like that to actually have subscriptions. And we covered this, in a different Tech Weekly show or Tech Habit Weekly show. And, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think it's a good thing to, compare against the Apple TV and different, subscriptions of different television services and whatnot that are out there, especially, since more people have the Nexus 7 and things like that. And, that was going to be happening at the Chromecast and Google's Android event. They're going to do the Nexus 7, Chromecast, Android 4.3, and things like that. I think it's pretty cool because myself personally, I have an Apple TV and I use it for streaming and whatnot. And I think it's a very good thing and hope that, that it rolls out and maybe more people can compete because that's like a different category to compete in. And
Yeah.
it's like the home streaming deal. And I really like it. I mean, HD movies and things like that on the fly, being able to just, like the AirPlay feature, pretty much like on the Apple TV, your iPhone, iPad, things like that. It links all your devices together, and I think that's great because I think it will keep people buying like devices. Like I have an iPad and an iPhone and a Mac Mini and an Apple TV. I mean, and all of those link together. That's four different devices that all link together. And, like I said, if people, they love their Chromebooks and have their, Galaxy tabs and things like that running Android, things like that, Samsung Galaxy, yes, you can link all those together and stream media content and things like that. And I think that's a good thing, especially with smart TVs and whatnot that things are out. And the cost is pretty cheap. I think that, a lot of people, we care about cost and whatnot. And with the cost being what it is, I think that's a good price point for that particular service. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, and I guess I'll say like two things that I'm really liking about this, even like in comparison to the Apple TV. The first one here is that it's kind of cross-platform. I'm looking at an article here, and it's saying that it does have it's baked in with iOS support, and so you can do things like stream to it. I'm not exactly sure what you can at this point, but I assume it would kind of act as an Apple TV would. But the big thing here is that unlike the Apple TV, this little USB, what looks like a USB, it's really HDMI, but it looks to be bus powered. So if you want to take this over to a friend's house, you don't have to take an HDMI and a power cable with you. You can just bring a little thing and plug it in an HDMI port, and you're good to go. So that's something that's looks really nice to me, aside from, of course, the $35 price tag, which is, roughly a third of what an Apple TV can cost you. But, like the whole subscriptions thing, I think that's pretty cool with, the Comcast subscriptions. It says content you love with more coming soon is an image here. YouTube, Netflix, it's cool to have all those streaming services all together. It's definitely what I think, it's kind of a way that things are going, because unlike you, I use my Apple TV every single day, whether it's Netflix or I can pull up a YouTube video on my iPad and then just have it all of a sudden on the bigger screen right in front of me there. So it's very cool, it's very convenient, and it's cool that Google's getting in there too and having their own kind of offering about this. So for $35, I mean, even if you don't like it, do you see yourself picking one up?
Honestly, no, and it's only because I already have an Apple TV, so personally I wouldn't, but I'm definitely going to stay pretty close and relatively close to these articles and content about this particular product and see what it can and can't do, because it's going to have to boast something huge. But here's the thing, like you said, with the subscriptions, now if it seems like they're rolling out subscriptions faster and doing things like that, and getting more people on board. And you got to realize, Google as an entire company is just split up in between the Android and Google Fiber and things like that. And it's the browser everyone pretty much uses. So, I'm thinking if they have a little more affiliations and, different contracts with different companies and subscriptions and whatnot, and if it seems like they're getting a lot more channels and different things like that, I could see myself getting that if it seems like iOS or other companies and things like that are kind of trailing behind that. And if that trend is taking off, of course, I'm a tech enthusiast. I want to have the latest and greatest tech no matter what it is. And if it turns out to be a big deal, yes, I definitely can see myself getting that.
Yep, and like you say, I'm also a tech enthusiast. I mean, I like technology that works in my life the way I'd want it to work. And a lot of people might look around, I have a lot of Apple products, but I'm not gonna blindly buy an Apple product because it has an Apple logo on it. I'm gonna buy it because they work very well. And I mean, even me personally, I have a Hackintosh here that runs OS 10, so I'm not like this absolute crazy die-hard Apple fan, but the products work well for me. So I'm kind of like you that, if the Apple TV, doesn't really meet our expectations in the next coming months or coming years, and Chrome is over here with their little $35 thing just kicking butt, then yeah, I'm going to go pick one of those up and also keep my Apple TV around for Mavericks. Of course, you can use that as a third display, which is a huge advantage that the Chrome what's it called? The Chrome, I totally forget the Chromecast.
Chromecast, I'm
the
sorry.
Chromecast doesn't have.
Right.
Yeah, I've blanked, but that's something that the Chromecast doesn't have. But it'd be cool to have both, and maybe have one on one TV, one on another. So I guess that's pretty much all we have to say for the Chromecast. Definitely a cool little gadget that will definitely appeal to a lot of people. Now we're all done with our tech stories, and now to close out the show, we have our tech treats of the week for you. So Dontae, kick us off with your tech treat.
Okay, my tech treat today, now I don't know if people have a particular problem with this, but I do personally. I don't know if you've ever had any, file formats of movies or things like that that couldn't be played on maybe your iPad or your iPhone through iTunes. Well, in the App Store, you can get what's called VLC Player for iOS. It's a very good app. You can check it out right now, and it plays pretty much every file format of different movies. So you can have an AVI file, MPEG 4, MPEG 2, things like that. And and it has Dropbox integration. That's one thing I like. So you can have your files in your Dropbox and be able to play them through that player on your phone. It's free in the iOS App Store. I mean, I think it's a very good thing. I mean, it's only about 17 megabytes, so it's not a huge file. But you can sync things through Dropbox, iTunes, and you get direct downloads through embedded uploads through a web server. It's nice. I mean, the audio and everything is crisp. It's very nice. And I remember I used to only be able to get that particular app when I was jailbroken. And now that it's in the App Store, and I'm not sure how long it's been in the App Store, but it's in the App Store now and it's free. And I think it's a very good thing, because then you don't have to worry about converting videos and things like that into iTunes readable format. So if you got that Windows Media video or something that you might have ripped from YouTube or something, or Flash or things like that, that content will play just fine on your VLC player. So check it out in the iOS App Store, Apple App Store, VLC Player for iOS.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's heard of VLC for Mac, VLC for Windows, and it's very friendly. You can play anything, pretty much anything that you throw at it. And a lot of people didn't know that. Now it's on your phone. Like, people hate having to convert videos in iTunes. Then you have to plug your iPad in, your iPhone in, sync it, wait for it to finish, and then you can have your stuff. With this, you can just throw it on there and it'll play anything you throw at it. So for the price of $350, I mean, you really can't beat it. Get it while it's in the App Store, and Apple, for some reason, thinks of a way that they can just pull it down. Definitely get it while it's hot. My app, actually, before I go on, I talked about an application last week that was Air Video, and it basically lets you do the same thing but transcode it on the fly. So I'm one of those people that VLC really appeals to, because I like to not have to convert my stuff first. So definitely check out last week's Tech Habit Weekly if you missed it. And VLC ties in really nicely with that for people that just hate converting their videos. So my tech treat for this week is an application here called Air Display. And now what Air Display does is, it works both on Windows and Mac, and it lets you actually use your iPad here or even your iPhone. I think they even have Android apps as well, as a third display or a second display or whatever. Third for me because I already have two. And basically all it is, it's a Mac app as well as an iPad app. The Mac version is free. The iPad app, or I should say the iOS app, is $9.99. So it's a little steep in price, but if you're someone that wants to have an extra monitor and doesn't really want to go out and buy a whole separate monitor, this can really save you. And so let's go ahead and I'll launch the app here. So this is what Air Display looks like. And I currently don't have it running, but it's basically as simple as you launch the Mac application, you tell it to switch over to here, and all of a sudden you have another display which you can drag windows to and from, and it's actually touch responsive. So you can be on an application, and you can actually interact with that application by tapping instead of clicking. So if you have like video software like our producer Terrell has using Wirecast here, he can, instead of having to click and really go over each shot, you can just tap a shot and it'll change. So it's definitely very convenient to have. That's kind of, in a way, a touch version of Mac OS X. It's not nice for every app, but when it's there, if you do want to have an application that works well with touch, then you can just drag it onto here and use it as touch. And this is an iPad 3rd generation, which means I can run this at 2560 by, or no, was it 2048 by 1536? That's what this resolution is. You can run it at that crazy resolution. And in my experience with the app, there's been a little bit of lag, but it still handles it very well. You can also run it at 1024 by 768. That's a lot smoother, but just think about that. I mean, my 24-inch monitor here is 1920 by 1080. This here is 2048 by 1536, and so I can drag many more windows on here than I can on my huge 24-inch display. And granted, they might be kind of hard to read, but with pretty much any application nowadays, you can zoom in and change the font size, and so it's a really cool way to have a lot of things on a separate screen that is absolutely wireless. And so for $10, depending on how much you want to use it, I know I've got my money's worth out of it already. Might be a little steep for some people, but if you're looking for a cheap, I guess, secondary or third display, this is an awesome way to go. Works very well. So that's all we have for you guys today for this episode of Tech Habit Weekly. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to Dontae, the other host here. Thank you to Terrell, our producer. We should have this on YouTube very soon. Also, we have this podcast in the iTunes store as well. Just search Tech Habit Weekly. Feel free to subscribe, get your download on, and if you have that crazy 500 down, internet plan, this will be done in no time. So thank you guys very much. Today's episode was 2 days late. Real life kicks in, so we apologize for that, but we should be back Tuesday of next week with the next episode, which is episode 7. So thank you guys, and until then, take care, and we'll see you back here soon.